What's up, everyone? We are back at Midnight Manor and Fantastic Fest 2025, and I am so thrilled to be reuniting with the team behind Creep to celebrate the Creep Tapes Season 2. Congratulations.
Hi, dude.
How many times have I congratulated you on this franchise over the years?
Oh, my God. The
Perri, it's been 10 years now.
The fact that you said franchise is just so surreal.
It's so cool. You made an independent feature film and then an independent season of television that has turned into this massive success. I wrote down some of the first season's achievements that we'll get to in a little bit, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
We refuse to take no for an answer and continue to back up the money truck from the morning show onto this franchise, and we will not be stopped.
In that case, I hope the morning show never ends.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So before we dig into the Creep Tapes, I did want to start with a broader question, just because we've been taking the opportunity to celebrate genre in general and our earliest influences. So for each of you, can you name a horror movie that you saw way back in the day that made you stop and go, that's incredible, I have to work in that genre and do something like that down the line?
I mean, for me, there was a moment watching Silence of the Lambs in the movie theater on a weeknight with my dad. It was so rebellious to go out on a weeknight because I went to a very strict high school. I'm like 14. And while it wasn't empirically new, it was subjectively new to me to watch such incredible craftsmanship, such like elegant thought put into a seemingly despicable character who comes across as quite intelligent and well-mannered. I thought, oh, this is a really interesting crossover. And then similarly, I rewatched Psycho around that time, which, you know, I watched it when I was 8 and I was just like, oh, I just want to see the part. And then I saw, oh, wow, they took their lead character and killed her off at minute 25. And so I started to see the beauty of the form. So those two were pretty seminal.
I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was 11 years old during a sleepover with my friends where we stayed up all night long, didn't go to sleep. We just saw the sunrise that morning, and watching that movie and experiencing this just strange alchemy of that movie where I was scared in a way that I'd never been scared before. And it's that unsettled sort of element of that movie. And you know, in retrospect now, watching the movie and like this strange alchemy of how that movie was made, how it was a small group of people going out into the middle of nowhere and sort of making this thing together, and the sort of beauty of that and the beauty of collaboration. And for me, it's a very touching movie to watch now because I think about the process just as much as I think about the product. And so I relate that to what we do in a big way. Where like we always,
you mean a bunch of idiots who don't know what they're doing, stumbling into an interesting piece of art. Yeah.
Have you ever eaten at the house? They turned the house into a restaurant.
Ooh.
It's like 50 minutes outside of Austin.
Have you done it?
I did. My first year here. I made sure to go have a meal there.
They do like a Thanksgiving feast for you? Like that? Yeah.
We went and got breakfast. I'm pretty sure I was lame and got like a bowl of oatmeal, but I just wanted to eat in the house and have a meal there. Starting with Creep Tapes, I want to go back to the reaction to season 1. And here's where I wrote down my facts about your achievements. It was number 2 on AMC Plus for weeks, and it is also the most watched show of all time on Shudder. Did you see that kind of response happening, or when those stats came in, was it a shock even to the two of you?
Yeah, we don't really get that kind of success with our art. Like, it's usually like, man, that thing was so good. Why didn't anybody see it? That's been like the history of my career. So the way we have been welcomed by the horror community, even though we have never really considered ourselves aficionados in how to make horror, we consider ourselves very sensitive people who stepped into the horror space and were accepted. That made it that much more special. That like, we went to our first horror conventions this year, and like the love that we get from people and the appreciation we get for what we do it's just beautiful.
Aren't those convention spaces the best?
So special.
Yeah, it's funny because Mark and I were quite nervous. We didn't know what we were sort of walking into, I think originally, but then from the first day we went to Texas Frightmare here in Dallas, which is I think the biggest one or one of the biggest in North America, and just the amount of pure love that we got every day was kind of unparalleled and so sweet. And I mean, it wasn't even exhausting for me. I felt great at the end of the day. And it's because I just got to, like, everyone's just so happy to be there, you know?
I mean, I don't want to be reductive, but like when you say that Creep Tapes was like the #1 Shudder show, I'm actually not that surprised now when I look at it, because I feel like, you know, when you show up to places like Sundance or Berlin Film Festival, they're looking for ways in which your film is not as good as everyone else's films, in order to, and they want to show how smart they are in their review of it or in their talking of it to take you down. And when we're in the horror community, they're trying to find the things that they love about it. And it's just a tectonic difference.
That's why this is where I belong, and I'll never stop coming to this festival.
Yeah.
Just to broaden it to more of your work in the independent TV space, because
Yeah.
we've talked about the kind of work that you do in that respect quite a few times at this point.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the success of the first season of Creep Tapes that has influenced your work in that department in other genres? And actually, I should also loop in Penelope, because that wound up on Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've been trying to lead this charge for interestingly made television as we're experiencing, you know, the death of outlier content in TV. Look, I don't try to take anybody down. I understand why these places have to follow their algorithms and they need a murder in the first 30 seconds of a show, because if they don't have it, then no one's going to pay attention. And we're dealing with short attention span theater competing with YouTube. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to carve out a space where we can make a show where somebody just stares at another man undressing in the bathroom for 45 seconds without any dialogue, because that to me is special cinema, and I want to maintain that, and I'm willing to put my money where the mouth is and continue to do that. Here's the cool thing is, like, with a show like the Creep Tapes, it's so cheap to make that AMC, and you're listening right now, and Shudder, and you're listening right now, you can't cancel us. You can't. It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So we've kind of learned how to make ourselves undeniable. You know, this burger is so great and it only costs you 67 cents. You're going to keep eating it.
Oh, I'm going to come back to that point in a minute. But first, before I also start to dig into some specifics with these first 3 episodes that I did see, just more broadly, is there anything about the fan response to season 1 that you found influencing how you crafted season 2?
100%. And in a way that was, I would say, not really stifling at all, in a way that was just additive. I mean, you know, our season 1 and its response was almost like our focus group for what the show could be, you know? And so we did listen to people, and we really wanted to make sure that we were not being repetitive with these episodes, and that we were challenging ourselves and pushing ourselves both in the form of these episodes, but also the character, and trying to find new avenues for him to go to. We didn't want to retreat anything. So, yeah.
I think the #1 note we got from our fans in the first season is, please continue to give me episodes that I can't possibly expect, you know? And we shot an episode with me acting opposite myself in a hotel room that may or may not have been a fever dream. We were like, oh God, what's going to happen? And people loved it.
It was probably the episode I was the most nervous about, because it was by far the weirdest of the bunch, but that continues to be a lot of people's favorite episode.
We look at Creep Tapes like this long, thin, creepy hallway with tons of doors on the left side and tons of doors on the right side. And our job is to continue to open doors, step people inside of the room, and just when they think, oh, is this going to be the room we're in, we walk right out and we go into another door. But we leave them all open and the ability to revisit those. So we don't want to get stuck into a corner and think, oh God, it's season 5 and we don't know what to do anymore. So it's all about expansiveness.
Do you think this series could go on for?
Yes.
Like, as you were explaining that, I was being brought back to many conversations that I had when Final Destination Bloodlines came out earlier this year. I think that concept is genius, and the creative possibilities are so vast that franchise could justifiably go on for forever. And
I agree.
I get that feeling from this concept too.
I feel that way.
Yeah,
I hope so.
I mean, I hope, and I think like the proof is in the fact that we were able to like make this season and not only have more fun doing it, feel more confident, and I think it's weirder than anything we've ever done.
Yep.
It's weird. I don't know, it feels like even more assured and refined than ever based on the first 3 episodes that I watched. We're not going to spoil anything, but I do want to broadly talk about each of these episodes here. And the first question, it's the first episode I watched. You're working opposite one of my favorite working actors in this industry right now, in David Dastmalchian. I think he is absolutely incredible. Please tell me everything about going toe to toe with him of all people.
Well, I think when Patrick and I started watching David's work, we had this feeling that if this was 2013 and we were just starting this franchise again, we probably would have cast him instead of me in this role because we're so obsessed with his ability to hold the screen with uncomfortable silence, which is one of the tenets of what we do. So we thought, well, all right, next best thing, let's cast him as a copycat. Let's see what happens with this. Couple of concerns with that. One, we've never had a franchise before, so what does it mean to be self-referential? That was nervous making.
Right, but we kept telling ourselves, if they're watching the show, the second season, episode 1, if they're in this deep, they will appreciate our very obscure, specific references to the first movie.
Yeah, but what a lot of people don't understand about this show is that there's usually only 5 people making this at any given time on set. It's Patrick and myself, our third partner, Chris Donlan, who edits and is an EP, our producer, John, and then the other actor. And we all live together in the same space that we shoot in. So it's like this camp environment. And in some ways, it turns into this like mutual therapy fest where we shoot for like 6 to 8 hours a day. We get to know each other. We share all of our meals together. And some of those things that are discussed and that happen between us end up either like consciously or subconsciously making their way into the episode. So David is such a soulful, open book of a human being. In many ways, David is my character's ultimate victim.
1,000%.
Because he's ready to share just as quickly as my character is ready to share. So it was honestly beautiful and then deeply sad on the last day because we're like,
you're gone now.
I want to make 100 episodes with you.
Yeah.
Make more shows, make more movies with him.
We were already talking about doing other stuff with David. We couldn't resist. It was kismet. Yeah.
This industry and this world needs more of him in it. How literal should I be taking the point that you live where you shoot? Are you in like the actual houses and like motels, etc.?
Yes.
Yeah, we live there.
Yeah.
The point is to be like 13-year-old children who have their parents' video camera, who have access to a space, and you immerse yourselves in it, and to elicit the puerile glee of that and match it with the filmmaking experience of being in your 40s. That is the goal of getting Creep Tapes in the sweet spot.
What is your single favorite place you've lived in for this show? And then what is your least favorite place you've had to live in?
Oh, I'm trying to think. We've definitely had least favorites.
The mom episode.
The house that we stayed in for the mom episode was in the mountains outside of San Diego. And it was extremely hot. It was like 100-degree weather. There was a search for a missing man that was going on while we were shooting. And luckily we were shooting at night, but the search was going on during the day. So there was a helicopter circling us during the day, which was a very unsettling thing to wake up to after you've been shooting all night long. And there was a moment probably on like night 2 or something where, you're in the moment, you're focused, you're making the episode. I turn to Mark and I go, I fucking hate this. It was Mark's like, I hate it. It
was like haunted with dark energy. Yeah. Somehow, like I don't know why. So that one was really, really tough. I mean, favorite place we shot. I will say the first episode in season 1 was very magical for us because we shot that up in Idlewild and we were like, you know what, let's do this before the snows hit. We can get this episode done. And we were starting to really question that thing that you always question in these shows is why will the person stay once the threat starts to become apparent? And we wanted to push that threat harder. And we felt that creatively we pushed Mike, that character, to the place halfway through shooting that he should have been leaving. And we were starting to grapple with it. And literally, like universal magic, it snowed overnight. And so we're like, oh, now he's snowed in. And like when you shoot that quickly with the creep tapes, when you almost trust the creative universe, it delivers you things. So that one was really special.
Yeah, being open to the literal elements and being able to shift along with that is also just so exciting. Yeah.
That unexpected movie magic is one of the
Yes.
best parts of this process.
Yeah, it is.
A follow-up question about the David episode, because it did cross my mind. We're going to get Creep Tapes 3. Like, I'm just saying it. This is my manifestation space. I speak things into existence.
Perri
that
just
I want, and
greenlit
then I
Creep
know-
Tape season 3.
Yeah.
It's going to
Great.
happen.
Yeah.
So I love David. He's one of my favorite working actors in this business. If you could dream cast another actor in season 3, but in particular, someone who might make you go, like, we really want this person, but there's no way they're actually going to do it. Who would you pick and why?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a needle to thread with the creep tapes where in our mind, for the verisimilitude to actually work, the people can't be too famous, because all of a sudden you're just like, I'm looking at Channing Tatum. And so I love Chan.
Or
but-
maybe it's a big challenge.
Yeah, or is it a,
For
or is
you
it a big
and
challenge?
them.
I'm not ready for that yet, Perri. I'm not ready. So what we've always loved about it is the ability to do what I love to do, which is to mentor younger filmmakers, younger actors, give them their first break and be like, you're just an incredible performer, come in and then you can be anonymous, which is really nice. But we are out to Tom Cruise for next season.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Or Vincent Gallo.
Can Tom Cruise play Tom Cruise?
I mean,
Like, I think there's something there.
Oh, yeah.
the word on the street is, if inside of the offer letter you let him know that you have a way of filming him and his running that will show how fast he really is and his new technology, you'll get him.
I would believe that. Again, manifestation space. I think we have just manifested
Yep.
Tom Cruise in season 3. I want to touch on the second episode I saw, and this is like a little bit of a delicate dance we'll have to do, because I don't want to spoil anything, but there's something you do in that episode that I found so refreshing that really showed me a different side of your character that I think I needed to see. So can you maybe tell me a little bit about developing that episode and, new corners of him you wanted to crack that you hadn't been able to before?
Which episode?
I don't know
was
what
this?
episode you're talking about.
Wes.
Wes.
Oh, Wes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I'll say about the Wes episode is we have had a fear in our own creative abilities to make this show continue to be interesting, change the form enough so that audiences want to come back and see what we will do with it. And I mentioned earlier how much I love Psycho, because we have Janet Leigh, and it's 1960. You're thinking, great. She's going to be damsel in distress. She's going to get in trouble. She's going to overcome the villain, and then the end. And that doesn't happen. And in minute 25, you're completely thrown off kilter and you go somewhere else. So we thought we really need to do something where people really think they know the form now and they're watching the form unfold. And then by minute 7, they're out to sea. Something wildly unexpected happens. At the same time, we thought, we should bring more camera formats into this thing. Like, what happens if there's a body cam? What happens if there's a dash cam? So that led us to something different.
And then doing that, we're putting Joseph in a position where we're painting him into a corner, and the joy of seeing himself work himself out of that was also really fun for us. Yeah.
Very, very well done. I loved how that one kept me on my toes. And then that brings me to the third episode I watched, which I believe release order is going to be the second.
Okay.
I don't know how, I'm hesitant to say what I want to say, but as a fan of a certain franchise, are we ultimately going to be able to reveal what the franchise is after people
I think
see?
it's okay after people see it.
Yeah.
I thought
We
the
should.
saw spin was so incredibly clever. I was utterly delighted by that. Again, without spoilers, can you two kind of walk me through, actually maybe more specifically, figuring out the right type of character for you to go head to head to in that scenario? Because it could have been like a variety of different personalities, but because he is who he is and he acts how he acts, it completely defines the entire episode.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to go back on the what we said about sleeping everywhere we shoot, because we actually didn't sleep in the Saw room.
I
No, we
hope
didn't
so.
sleep in
Which,
that room.
by the
yeah.
way, we shot it in the same room where they shot Saw, where they shot the first movie. That is the same room,
Seriously?
the same space.
That's
So we went to church
And so it was-
made a new church.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Or defiled. But I mean, for me, just I loved the idea. Obviously, we have this character who has all these endless movie references in his head, and the lines of reality are blurred with what's real and what's a movie and what's not. But one thing we've mentioned before is he's afraid of scary movies. He doesn't watch a lot of scary movies, and so the idea of Joseph Peach Fuzz creating a scenario for one of his victims based on a film that he hasn't seen because it was too scary for him, and then what that would actually look like in practical application.
That was enough. Once we got that idea, that was
like,
enough. But then Patrick sent me the link and he's like, we can rent the actual room that they shot Saw in, and it's not that expensive. I was like, first of all, why aren't more people having their birthday parties here at this rate?
Well, now I know what I'm going to do for my birthday.
Totally worth it. But again, that kind of spoke to like, let's push the boundaries a little bit. Let's see what we can do with different camera formats. Let's have some fun with this. I think what we learned, if anything, from watching the first season is that people want us to stretch, and they want us to not hit singles, but to take massive swings. And that might mean there'll be some foul balls for them, but they're kind of okay with it. Not everybody loves every episode from the first season, but I think that is part and parcel with taking the kind of swings we want to take and the freedom we want to have. And once we just took the blanket off of that fear and just let it ride, these kinds of episodes started to emerge, and it's just more fun.
I'll just re-emphasize 3 for 3 this season.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
I will also blab about it on social media and wherever else I can, but I was so incredibly impressed by these. I know I have to wrap soon and let you both go. And with 2 questions. One is one that I got in the habit of asking because of something someone brought up in this room last year. And I just love the thought. I was talking to a horror director who basically stopped to point out how happy it made him to see his cast and crew have such joy on set making this dark material and also taking such pride in their work. So can each of you single out the single moment of making the Creep Tapes season 2 that brought you the most joy as an artist?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is that there are so many of those. There's no way I could even say them all. But the first one that comes to mind is we're shooting one episode, and because we are only 5 people, occasionally people have to do multiple jobs at once. And Patrick had to be brought in to the actual choreography of an episode as a stunt person / PA / props person / director at the same time, where we couldn't have any cuts and he was hiding behind the camera and moving things around. And there's a still frame of it that our producer got at some point. And it's the most dumb, but truly childlike joy on his face of the way it felt when you picked up that camera and you were like, are we going to be able to make movies one day?
Yeah.
Could we do this? And that should all be gone by now. Again, we're in our 40s. We have families. We should have sold this shit down the river years ago. And maybe we do in certain areas of our life, but not here.
I want to see that photo one day.
You will. Yeah, there's some really good, very strange BTS from this season for sure. I mean, like Mark, it's really hard to pick a moment just because like the entire, I mean, the whole process of every episode kind of lumps into one for me. And the fact that, you know, our crew is so small and that between Mark, Chris Donlin, who's our editor and sort of our third brother in all of this. And then this season was produced by our friend John Baker, who's one of my dear friends. And so like just working with these people who I love deeply and would do anything for, and sort of, you know, I like it doesn't you know, I don't take for granted the fact that I get to be with these people every day.
The only time you take it for granted is like 15 minutes before lunch when when your hangry kicks in.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the only time.
But there was a moment where we were in the basement of my friend's house where we shot the episode with David Dastmalchian, where the climax of that episode is occurring. And we're, you know, one of the unique things about this show is, like we were saying, we get to work with all these guest stars and have these extremely charged, intimate working experiences with them and then they leave. But being in this basement, this dusty, I don't even think it's a basement, it's a crawl space really that we're shooting in. And, you know, Mark has other shit to do. He can be doing something else. David is talking about how he's coming off this Apple show and then coming up to the hill to be with us in this soot and dirt covered basement, filming this very strange thing. And it's just a total joy. So that going back to that moment for me, for sure is.
I love those answers.
Yeah.
I had one more question I have to ask you about an unrelated project because I'm utterly fascinated by the Backrooms.
Okay.
That is another concept that I think has endless creative potential on the big screen.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so excited for Kane to see what he does with the resources that he has in that particular medium. I'll give you a broad question first just to play it safe because I don't want to get you in any trouble. But what can you tell me about the story and maybe the experience you had filming it?
Yeah, I can't say anything about the story, and I really do want to protect it for Kane, whose mind is a back room and a beautiful place, a beautiful liminal space that is somehow not human and beyond all of us. But what I will say is that, you know, I have always fancied myself someone who loves to mentor young filmmakers and be around them. And I think that's part of the reason why I got that gig, was thinking, you know what? Kane is 19 and he's directing like a huge studio movie for the first time. It'd probably be good to have Mark around, who's like really good at like mentoring people, you know, and I was fully ready to do that and got there and I was like, this guy is so in charge and knows every detail down to the last thing. And he was so patient and good with the actors and with us. It was so impressive to watch him command that set in a lovely and humble way. So look, I don't know how it's all going to come together. We're going to have to see, but like I feel very, very comfortable in his hands. I'll
give you one follow-up question to lean into how you described it, because I ask this a lot of times when I'm talking to like a veteran actor working with someone newer into the industry. So I love the fact that we always focus on what newcomers can learn from the veterans, but I love the fact that it could go the other way as well. Can you tell me something new you discovered about yourself as an actor by having his fresh perspective directing you?
Well, what I discovered is that, you know, the nature of Kane's brain, as I said, is just this really beautiful space. And so what I needed to do is sort of respect and hold like the deep mythology going on in his brain, and not clutter that with too many words or too many questions, and keep the lane of communication very, very simple with him when I had a question for him, and not bug him with too much stuff. So it was, you know, when I'm working with like Patrick, we're just like buds and we're just like talking about everything. Kane is like a museum I wanted to be more careful with, because that's I think what's required to make the kind of art he makes.
That mythology is just something else.
It's a big one.
It's gonna rip. That movie's gonna rip.
There's no question. I have no doubt whatsoever.
The cast sucks, but that
cast is something else.
Yeah.
Yourself included. I'm gonna say,
don't mind if I do.
For real. Huge congratulations on the Creep Tapes season 2. Again, love the episodes I've seen. Sending all good vibes. Many, many more to come.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you.
Always.